Let's begin with something that might surprise you. After age 60, you can still build new muscle, not just preserve what's left. And in many cases, you can do it better than when you were younger if you understand what your brain, your hormones, and your muscle fibers truly need at this stage of life. You see, for decades, the common belief has been that once we hit our 60s, muscle growth becomes nearly impossible, that it's a slow, inevitable decline toward frailty. But that's not what the science says anymore. Here's what the research shows. A landmark study published in the Journal of Genetology found that older adults, even into their 70s and 80s, can increase muscle mass and strength significantly when given the right nutrition, exercise protocols, and supplementation. And one of the most promising natural tools, not testosterone, not protein powders, but creatine monohydrate, a compound already found in your body, now being rediscovered as a powerful ally for muscle and brain health after 60. What's happening in your physiology as you age is not just about lower testosterone or slower recovery. It's about changes in how your brain signals your muscles, how efficiently your cells produce energy, and how your body processes nutrients. And creatine, this simple, widely studied supplement, directly supports all of those mechanisms. And here's the good news. Creatine is not a steroid. It's not just for bodybuilders, and it's not unsafe for older adults. In fact, study after study shows that it can improve muscle mass, strength, cognitive function, and even bone density when taken correctly. And that's what we're going to explore today. So if you're over 60 or care about someone who is, and you're noticing more weakness, slower recovery, or more difficulty getting out of a chair or climbing stairs, this episode is for you. Because the truth is, those challenges are not signs of irreversible decline. They're signs that your system needs better support. In today's breakdown, we're going to look at what's really causing muscle loss after 60, neurologically and hormonally. Why creatine is one of the most evidence-supported natural supplements for reversing that trend, how it affects your brain, not just your body, the protocol's exact timing, dosage, and combinations that make creatine most effective, and how to pair it with training, recovery, and mindset shifts to rebuild strength, energy, and confidence at any age. This is not about vanity or gym culture. This is about reclaiming physical independence, reducing fall risk, and protecting your brain and body as you age. By the end of this episode, you'll have not just an understanding of the science, but simple daily tools you can apply immediately to begin rebuilding your strength and vitality. Because the truth is, muscle is not just about movement, it's a signal of overall resilience. Let's get into it. When most people think of muscle loss with age, they imagine their biceps shrinking or their legs getting weaker. But the real decline begins not in your arms or legs, it begins in your brain and nervous system. Here's what the research shows. After age 50, the motor cortex, the area of your brain responsible for initiating voluntary movement, begins to show decreased activation during physical effort. But more importantly, your motor neurons, the nerves that connect your brain and spinal cord to your muscles, begin to die off if they aren't consistently engaged. This phenomenon is called denervation, and it leads to a process known as sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle tissue. But what's often overlooked is that denervation can start decades before visible muscle loss sets in. Think of your muscles like a light bulb. Your brain sends an electrical signal to flip the switch. But if that wire, your motor neuron, begins to fray or disconnect, it doesn't matter how strong the bulb is, it won't turn on. That's why one of the earliest symptoms of age muscle decline isn't size, it's slower reaction time, reduced balance, and difficulty with movements that used to feel automatic, like getting up from a chair or climbing stairs. Now here's where creatine comes in. Creatine doesn't just live in your muscles. It also exists in your brain and central nervous system, where it plays a critical role in energy production. Specifically, it helps regenerate ATP, the fuel your cells use to fire neurons and contract muscle fibers. A 2019 study in neurobiology of aging showed that creatine supplementation improved neuromuscular function in older adults, even without major changes in exercise. It helped improve the ability of the nervous system to recruit more muscle fibers, meaning that your body could activate more strength more quickly. And that's a big deal, because muscle strength is not just about bulk. It's about how quickly and completely you can activate the muscle tissue you already have. Here's a simple way to apply this insight. A daily 5G dose of creatine monohydrate combined with deliberate physical movement, even walking, light resistance training, or bodyweight squats, helps reteach your brain how to engage muscle. Ask yourself, have you noticed your reaction time slowing down? That you feel less steady when stepping off a curb or lifting something from the floor? That's not just about aging. It's your nervous system asking for better fuel and stimulation. You don't need to accept decline as inevitable. Instead, begin rebuilding the brain-muscle connection. Start with something as simple as standing up and sitting down from a chair 10 times, once per day, paired with that 5G dose of creatine. Over time, this simple habit helps retrain the neuromuscular pathways that keep you strong, stable, and independent. The takeaway here is clear. Muscle loss after 60 begins in the nervous system, and it's reversible. You don't just need strength training, you need neuro training. And creatine is one of the few natural supplements that fuels both systems at once. If you've ever heard of creatine, you might associate it with athletes, gym bros, or high school football players looking to bulk up. But that cultural image has overshadowed a more important scientific truth. Creatine is a naturally occurring compound found in your muscles and brain, and it plays a critical role in cellular energy, especially as you age. Here's what's happening at the cellular level. Every time your muscle contracts, whether you're lifting a dumbbell, getting out of bed, or simply stabilizing your posture, it burns a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is your body's immediate energy currency, but your cells can only store a few seconds worth at a time. That's where creatine comes in. Creatine helps regenerate ATP by donating a phosphate group through a molecule called phosphocreatine, essentially recycling your cellular energy system faster. The more creatine stored in your muscles and brain, the more efficiently your body can respond to physical demands. And this matters even more after age 60. Research published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia, and Muscle shows that older adults tend to have lower levels of stored creatine, which may contribute to muscle fatigue, slower recovery, and greater difficulty with tasks that used to feel automatic. But here's the good news. Supplementing with creatine restores those levels and improves performance, not just in the gym, but in daily function. In a 2021 meta-analysis involving older adults aged 60 to 85, those who supplemented with creatine experienced significantly greater gains in muscle strength and lean mass compared to placebo, especially when combined with resistance training. The effect sizes were large enough to support real-world benefits like easier mobility, reduced fall risk, and improved independence. How much should you take? The simple protocol is this. You take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate once per day, ideally with water or a small meal containing carbohydrates. No need to load with higher doses. A consistent daily intake builds up your muscle stores over 2 to 3 weeks. And yes, creatine monohydrate is the form used in almost all clinical trials. It's safe, inexpensive, and remarkably effective when taken consistently. There's no need for fancy, bulky, or micronized versions. You might wonder, will creatine make me bulky? Not unless you're actively trying to gain significant muscle mass. What it will do is enhance your energy availability, improve your ability to move, and subtly increase muscle volume by drawing more water into your muscle cells, a good thing for strength, hydration, and cellular health. And importantly, creatine doesn't just power your muscles, it supports energy metabolism in your brain, which we'll explore in the next section. But before we go there, if this insight is helping you reframe how you think about muscle loss and aging, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. We break down science like this every week, turning complex research into real tools for your body, brain, and life. It isn't about selling supplements. It's about giving you evidence-based protocols that protect your independence, confidence, and strength from the inside out. Most people think of creatine as a physical supplement, something for muscles, maybe for energy. But what the research now confirms, and what many people over 60 don't yet realize, is that creatine is just as important for your brain as it is for your biceps. Let's break this down. Your brain uses more energy per gram than any other organ in your body. Despite making up only about 2% of your body weight, it consumes nearly 20% of your energy, primarily in the form of ATP. Every time you recall a word, plan your day, or even regulate your emotions, your brain is burning fuel. And just like muscle tissue, your brain stores and uses creatine to help regenerate ATP rapidly, especially during high-demand tasks like memory retrieval, decision-making, or staying mentally alert when fatigued. And here's what the science shows. In a 2018 study published in Experimental Gerontology, researchers found that creatine supplementation significantly improved cognitive performance in older adults, particularly on tasks requiring working memory, mental fatigue resistance, and information processing speed. This isn't just theory. Participants who supplemented with creatine reported feeling mentally sharper, less foggy, and more resilient to cognitive fatigue during long tasks. Let's make that practical. Have you noticed moments of forgetfulness, struggling to stay focused during conversations? Mental fatigue setting in sooner than it used to? That's not necessarily aging, it's energy depletion in your neurons. And creatine is one of the few natural, affordable supplements that can replenish that energy buffer. The benefit is especially powerful for people who don't consume much red meat or fish, the two richest dietary sources of creatine. If you're eating mostly plant-based, your brain and muscles may already be operating with a lower baseline level, making you an ideal candidate for supplementation. A simple tool to apply is this. Take your 5G dose of creatine in the morning, paired with a cognitive task you want to perform well on, whether that's reading, planning your day, or working through a challenging problem. Over time, you may find your mental clarity and stamina increasing alongside your physical strength. And here's another powerful insight. Creatine also plays a role in mitochondrial health. Your mitochondria, the energy factories in every cell, decline with age. But studies show that creatine helps protect and stabilize mitochondrial function, which may contribute to longer-term brain health and even reduced risk of neurodegenerative diseases. So when we talk about muscle growth after 60, we're really talking about something much bigger. We're talking about preserving your vitality, both physically and cognitively, not just rebuilding your strength to carry groceries or climb stairs. You're protecting your brain's ability to think clearly, stay emotionally balanced, and engage fully with life. And that's why creatine isn't just for athletes. It's for anyone who wants to preserve function, resilience, and independence. There's a widespread myth that after a certain age, muscle loss is inevitable. That once you hit 60, your strength will steadily decline no matter what you do. But here's what the research says. Sarcopenia, the age loss of muscle mass and function, is not only preventable, it's reversible. In fact, many older adults can build more muscle in their 60S, 70S, and even 80S than they did in their 30S, simply because they finally start training with intention and fueling their body and brain correctly. Let's dig into the science. In a landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults who supplemented with creatine and performed resistance training 3 times a week saw significantly greater improvements in both muscle size and strength compared to those who trained without creatine. The gains were especially pronounced in lower body strength, a critical factor for balance, mobility, and fall prevention. So what does this mean for you? It means that creatine acts like an amplifier, not a substitute, for strength training. It helps your muscles recover faster, perform more reps, and regenerate energy more efficiently during resistance exercise. Think of it like this. If training is the spark, creatine is the fuel that keeps the fire burning, allowing you to train more effectively and recover more fully, even with just a few sessions per week. And here's the best part. You don't need to join a gym or lift heavy weights to get results. Even simple at-home resistance training done consistently can trigger muscle protein synthesis, the biological process that builds new muscle tissue. Here's a basic weekly protocol to follow. 3 days per week. Lower body weight squats to a chair, 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps, core plus balance or resistance band rows, core plus balance standing leg lifts or single leg balance holds. 2 sets per leg. Do this while taking your daily 5G of creatine monohydrate. These movements may seem simple, but when paired with proper recovery and creatine supplementation, they signal your muscles to grow stronger, denser, and more responsive. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly confident in your strength? Not just lifting a heavy bag, but trusting your body to move well, to balance, to support you in everyday life. That confidence can be rebuilt, not in months, but in weeks. And if you're wondering whether age limits your results, consider this. In a study from the Journal of Gerontology, participants aged 70 and older showed a 50% increase in leg strength after just 12 weeks of resistance training plus creatine, matching or exceeding results seen in younger adults. It's not about becoming a bodybuilder. It's about becoming capable again, physically, mentally, emotionally. And if you've found this insight helpful so far, consider liking this video and subscribing. Every week, we bring you science-backed strategies for enhancing your health span, strength, and clarity with tools that actually work. Because here's the truth. You don't have to age into weakness. You can age into power if you understand the biology and use the right tools. One of the biggest obstacles people face when starting a new supplement isn't the supplement itself. It's the confusion around how and when to take it. And for creatine, the misinformation can be especially frustrating. So let's clarify what the science actually says. First, there is no perfect time of day to take creatine. Research shows that what matters most is consistency, not timing. Whether you take it in the morning, after a workout, or before bed, the key is daily use. Creatine accumulates in your muscles and brain over time, so it's the long-term saturation, not the short-term spike that drives results. That said, if you want to optimize absorption, here's what helps. Take your 5G of creatine monohydrate with a small meal, especially one that contains carbohydrates. Why? Because insulin helps shuttle creatine into muscle cells more effectively. A piece of fruit, oatmeal, or toast can do the trick. Now let's address a few common concerns, particularly for those over 60. Myth. 1. Creatine is hard on the kidneys. This myth comes from early misinterpretations of studies involving people with pre-existing kidney issues, but in healthy individuals, numerous clinical trials, including those with older adults, have shown no adverse effects on kidney function with normal doses 3,5G daily. In fact, a 2022 systematic review in Nutrients concluded that long-term creatine supplementation is safe for older adults, including those managing mild hypertension or metabolic syndrome, as long as they stay hydrated. Myth 2, you need to cycle on and off. No. Creatine does not downregulate your body's natural production in a harmful way. There's no physiological need to stop taking it unless you want to. Think of it more like a nutrient like fiber or omega-3s that supports long-term cellular health. Myth 3, creatine causes water retention or bloating. Here's the nuance. Creatine draws water into your muscle cells, not under your skin. That's a good thing. It improves muscle hydration and cell volume, which supports protein synthesis and muscle performance. Most users don't experience bloating, especially at the standard 5G dose. Now, here's a powerful insight often overlooked. Creatine works best when integrated into your lifestyle, not isolated as a fitness supplement. So pair it with routines you already have. Take it with your morning coffee and breakfast. Set a reminder on your phone. Keep the tub next to your vitamins. The goal is to make it frictionless. Part of your rhythm, not another task on your list. And here's something you might not expect. Creatine's effects are subtle at first. You might not feel anything in the first week or two. But over time, often by week 3 or 4, you may notice greater ease in climbing stairs, faster recovery after physical tasks, improved mental stamina throughout the day, less soreness from light strength training, a quiet but growing sense of physical confidence. These changes build slowly, but they compound powerfully over months, especially when combined with resistance training, sleep, and proper nutrition. So the question becomes, are you willing to invest 5 seconds a day in something that could change how your body feels for the next 10, 20 years? That's the kind of long view thinking that preserves independence, energy, and dignity as you age. And that's what we're about on this channel, giving you the science and tools to build a body and brain that support the life you want to live. We've talked about how creatine helps rebuild strength, sharpen cognition, and support training after 60. But there's another layer, one that's only recent. Creatine isn't just a performance enhancer. It's showing signs of being a longevity molecule with systemic effects that go far beyond muscle cells. Here's what the science reveals. In recent years, studies have found that creatine plays a protective role at the cellular level, especially when it comes to reducing chronic inflammation, enhancing mitochondrial function, supporting DNA repair and cell survival under stress. Let's unpack that. Aging is largely driven by what scientists call inflaging, low-grade chronic inflammation that accumulates over time and damages tissues, including muscles, joints, and brain structures. In animal models, creatine supplementation has been shown to lower inflammatory cytokines, such as TNF-alpha and IL-6, both of which are implicated in muscle wasting and neurodegenerative disease. This is huge because even mild inflammation can impair your ability to build or maintain muscle, recover from training, or stay mentally sharp. So anything that blunts this process naturally and safely has powerful downstream benefits. Now let's look at the mitochondrial connection. Your mitochondria are the engines of your cells. As you age, they start to decline, producing less energy, more free radicals, and greater fatigue. But creatine helps buffer mitochondrial stress, keeping them efficient and protecting your tissues from energy loss and oxidative damage. One study published in Aging Research Reviews concluded that creatine supplementation improved muscle energetics and mitochondrial health in older adults, especially those who are physically active. So here's the takeaway. Even if your main goal isn't to build muscle or improve performance, creatine can still play a critical role in slowing biological aging by supporting the cellular infrastructure that keeps you healthy. And perhaps the most exciting area, emerging research on creatine's potential to support neurological health in conditions like Parkinson's and mild cognitive impairment. While more research is needed, early trials show promise, not as a cure, but as a protective agent that helps the brain resist decline. So when you take your 5G of creatine each day, you're not just feeding your muscles, but you're feeding your mitochondria. You're lowering inflammatory stress. You're sending a biological signal. Stay strong, stay resilient, Stay functional. This is the future of supplementation, not just adding years to life, but life to years. And that's what we believe here, that with the right knowledge, tools, and habits, you can extend your health span, the years of life where you're not just alive, but thriving. If this series has resonated with you, drop a comment below sharing your experience with creatine, or ask a question we can tackle in a future video. And if you haven't already, subscribe and join this community of people who are committed to aging with strength, intelligence, and intention. We're not here to slow down. We're here to power up with science as our ally and your vitality as the goal. Let's take a step back and look at what we've uncovered. We began with a truth that challenges decades of outdated belief. Muscle loss after 60 is not inevitable. It's reversible, and one of the most powerful, safe, and scientifically supported tools to rebuild strength, energy, and resilience is creatine monohydrate. We explored 6 core insights, each grounded in decades of research. Creatine isn't just for athletes. It enhances both muscle and brain performance in older adults. It protects your brain, especially under stress, sleep loss, or cognitive demand, and may reduce risk of neurodegeneration. It amplifies muscle protein synthesis, helping you get more from every rep, every walk, every training session. When paired with even light resistance training, creatine can reverse sarcopenia and restore mobility, balance, and confidence. It's safe, simple, and effective, requiring no cycling, no complicated timing, and no major lifestyle overhaul. It supports cellular repair, fights inflammation, and enhances mitochondrial function, extending benefits far beyond muscle into the very processes of aging. And most importantly, we've shown that you are not at the mercy of aging. You are a participant in it, a co-author of how it unfolds. What creatine offers is not a magic bullet. It's a foundational ally, a compound your body already uses, now simply supplied in greater amounts to meet the demands of time. The key, as with any meaningful change, is consistency. Take 5 grams daily, pair it with light resistance movement 3-4 times a week, support it with sleep, hydration, and nutrient-dense food. The science is clear, but so is the opportunity. If you implement these tools, your body will respond. Maybe slowly at first, a little more strength when you stand, a little more clarity mid-afternoon, a little less soreness after movement. But over weeks, then months, those small shifts stack into something profound. More strength, more energy, more dignity, more life. Here's what I invite you to try today. Start with one action. Take your first dose of creatine, ideally with breakfast. Go for a short walk after. Maybe do 2 sets of chair squats or wall push-ups. Then do it again tomorrow. Stack the habit, build the rhythm. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things repeatedly over time. You've now got the knowledge, you've got the protocol. All that remains is application, small daily choices that compound into lifelong change. And if this resonated with you, if you felt seen, informed, or inspired, I invite you to join our community by subscribing. This channel is dedicated to science-backed tools for elevating the quality of your mind, body, and life. We don't chase hacks, we build habits. We don't fear aging, we train for it. So hit like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and let us know in the comments, what's the first change you'll make today? Remember, you're not too old. It is not too late. And your strength, physical, mental, emotional, is not gone. It's waiting to be rebuilt. One rep, one habit, one supplement at a time.